So before I get started, who's seen this guy before? Or do you know his name or anyone? Don't worry, I pressed skip too long. So I'm here to talk about the value of education. So just like that guy, I'm not going to tell you like what's the success formula or whatever, but I'm going to tell you what like the value of education is. But before I get started, who here knows what rank American education is in the world? Does anyone know?
20-ish.
Okay, that's a close estimate. So who here knows what country is number one for education in the world?
Sweden.
No. Alright, so according to NBC Times, article written by Johnny Chatton in 2006, America is ranked 14th in the world for education, and South Korea is ranked number one. And so, after listening to this, like, this question pops up in my mind. Does it pop up in yours? Like, why isn't America, after all the things, like they say America's great, they've fought wars, they're strong, like, but why aren't we ranked in the top 10 in the world? So who has the same question as I do? Right. So, America has educational institutions ranging from K through 12 to college, and most colleges also offer up to higher degrees such as PhDs. So, according to blog.berkeley.edu, written by Carol Christ in 2015, education in today's world is the path to the American dream. And I believe to be that true because in order for us to get a good education, we do need or a good job, we do need a good education, correct? And so, here is the rankings of the country. So this is actually updated in 2010, and we are now moved up to, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think 9. So in 2010, we were ranked about 9 in the world for education. And so, I grew up in South Africa, and public education, I'm mostly talking about K through 12, is not free. My parents paid about 10,000 rands, which is equivalent to $630 a year. And so the school year goes from January to December. So $630 for a full year, it doesn't seem that bad. But back then, the economy was hard. So this got me to realize when I came here that most of us do take the education for granted. Like, who here has a friend that says, oh, like, C's get degrees, I mean, it's just one test, we have another midterm, you know? And so, like, it just shows that we take it for granted. We're not really appreciating the free education we're receiving here. And so, I'm here to tell you that take advantage of it. Like, in order for us as a country to rise to number one, or even in the top 10, we need to take advantage of it and use the education and value it more than just be, like, taking it for granted. Make use of it. So, I will be talking about why the value of education went down. I will talk about what caused the education value to go down. And lastly, I will present a reasonable solution for this problem. So, let's talk about like what caused it to go down. So, we aren't improving at all, especially according to like recent statistics. We're ranked 44th or 33rd in the world for that. And as you can see, America did not make it in the reading category according to the world, but they did place like 27th in math and 22nd in the science field. So although we are like trying to improve, we're going down and down because our value of education is just decreasing as we go. And schools, and I believe that schools nowadays emphasize more on a GPA than the value of information. So if you hear people talk nowadays, it's like, oh, what's your GPA? Oh, you must be really good at school or something like that. But that doesn't define us as a person. So that's why I chose this picture, because GPA actually hurts us rather than helps us. Yes, having an A will help us, but how many of us actually retain the information that we study? So most of us just pull all-nighters just to get that A, right? But would that actually help us like in the workforce later on if we go into the field? Like for me, as a computer scientist, yeah, I could pull an all-nighter coding, searching the internet for a code and actually pass the class. But how much of it did I actually retain? When I go into work for Microsoft during the summer, how much of it will I actually remember to use for that? So valuing education and retaining the information is more important than just a grade point average. So now that we've talked about why the value of education dropped, let's talk about what caused it. So the government has passed many laws to control education, and one of that is the No Child Left Behind Act. And this act, instead of helping, actually lowered the standards of education. So for example, if you look at this, it says that 7% of the nation's public school face consequences ranging from school improvement plans to reconstructing as a result of the No Child Left Behind Act. So instead of helping, for those of you, the No Child Left Behind Act is basically saying that schools have to provide a standardized test for us to actually for public schools to get funding for them. And so what schools could do, and there's like a big loophole, is they could lower the standards. So they don't value education. So they tell those kids like, oh, if you score only this much, like we'll be fine. And they could actually like misuse that and get full funding for their school. So this is what actually lowers down the standards. And one thing that it also creates is a big gap and devalues us as humans. So according to the admissions of universityofcalifornia.edu, updated in 2014, at a top-rated school like UCLA, it says that a GPA for a person in the majority of the population has to be 4.2 or higher. And compared to a person in the minority population, the GPA has to be between 3.9 and 4.1. So that just shows like some people, they have to work extremely hard to get into a top-rated school, or some have like easy. So that also helps us devalue it, or helps the value of education go down. So now that we've talked about how it got devalued, let me present a solution. So this is a quote that I like to follow, and I believe everyone should follow. It says, "Follow excellence, success will just follow you." So by that, I mean, next time when you're studying, don't just say, hey, I'm going to study because I'm going to get the A. Say that I want to retain the information. Say I want to like make use of it. As a person from like different colleges, I first got accepted into UCLA. I went there and I heard people say, oh, I'm at a UC, I'm guaranteed a good job because I attended UC. And then because of financial reasons, I transferred to a community college. And there I heard another reason saying, oh, it's just community college, that's easy. I mean, I'll try hard once I go to a 4-year. And then when I transferred up here, I still hear people saying, oh, it's just the CSU, I'm not going to get a good job, so like, what's the use? So like, everywhere I go, there's examples of people just taking the education for granted and not like valuing it as much as it's worth. And so, I'm here to say like, Cal State LA is a great opportunity. What they do is they provide upper division themes that like have specific themes. So I'm taking one that's aging and maturization. So what that does is it lets me like explore the human body, says like what affects us in maturing and all that. So not just as a computer scientist, but all of us could use like a little outside information to help us grow as people. And so to wrap things up, valuing education just shows that you know, you're more than just a grade point average. You're worth more than just a grade point average, and you're worth capable of doing more. So I first talked about how the value of education went down. Then I talked about what caused it, and lastly I presented a solution. So following this quote, I believe that as citizens of the U.S., I believe we should take advantage of the free education that we are providing, and we could help our nation go up to the top 10. Thank you.